So, hey everybody, today we're back with the Hoard Dairyman podcast, and we have a familiar sounding voice on the podcast. And I actually get to meet him in real life-ish over video. So, thanks for being here. Today we have Nate the Hoof Guy.
Hello, thanks for having me.
The sponsor of today's Hoard Dairyman podcast is Specialty Sales. HoofStrong takes the work out of hoof care. Their automated foot bath systems save labor, reduce hassle, and deliver consistent hoof care. Backed by unrivaled service and support, HoofStrong delivers efficiency you can count on. Learn more at hoofstrong.com. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm a hoof trimmer by trade. I've been trimming now for 23 years, and in 2020, I started a YouTube channel and started making content around my work. So the voice you hear in the videos and stuff, that's started in 2020. But I was a trimmer up before that for many years.
Wow. And so when you began hoof trimming, did you grow up on a dairy, or this kind of fall into place as time went on?
No, yeah, I grew up on a dairy I was born on a dairy and lived there my entire life. My dad farmed until I was about 15 years old, and then he sold the cows and went back teaching. And then I worked for farmers throughout high school. And then when I went to college, I got a job on another dairy there, and that's kind of how I ended up making it into the hoof trimming field from there.
Nice. And where'd you go to college, Nate?
Winona State University in Minnesota. Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
And then I worked on a dairy near Altura, Minnesota, to pay my way through school. So.
Wow. So it kind of just snowballed into a career. That's pretty cool.
Fell into it.
Did you always like hoof trimming, or was this kind of a job that you had that you just figured you'd make a career out of it?
Yeah, it was nothing that I had ever really even thought of. Like many people, we trimmed cows when I was a kid, but a couple times a year. But I was never home because I was in school whenever it happened, so I didn't really get to witness it on our own home farm. But then in college, that was part of my job, was to help the hoof trimmer whenever he would come. So I would help him get cows in and help him get him in the chute and help him pick up feet and things like that. So it was just kind of a natural thing where I got to see it all the pieces of it. And having, I wanted to always own my own business. So it was kind of a natural fit at that point where it's like, okay, it's in the ag field. I like being on farms. I can do this job, I think. I obviously wasn't trained in it yet, but I knew there was potential there. And then so I asked him if he would train me, and he agreed. They're a hoof trimmer. And so as soon as I graduated college, I started to train to be a hoof trimmer.
Wow, that's so cool. And obviously during my research about you before the episode, it says that you're based in West Salem. Is that still correct?
Yep.
So about how many dairies do you trim for?
I've got about 25 farms that I trim for here. When I first started the business, I started in Northwest Wisconsin, up near Cumberland, Wisconsin. That's where my family was from. And then when I got married, I moved my business south to West Salem, La Crosse area, and then had to rebuild the business here. So that's when I made the move. But yeah, I've been here since 2005.
Wow. So you got a good customer base. And then you had mentioned that, okay, so COVID rolls around. That's 2020. So that's 6 years ago already. Wow. How did you even get into content?
Yeah, it was just it was something that I wanted to do. We had a fishing show, a friend of mine and I, before that television show. So I dabbled in it a little bit. I didn't do anything with editing or anything, but I had got a taste of YouTube and things like that. The problem with it is it's hard to, when you have a full-time career, to do YouTube in a different area. So I thought, well, I can do YouTube. I could start making videos of my work. I go there every day, right? So that's kind of was the idea in my head. And then I saw a post online on Facebook actually that said showed hoof trimming, and it was depicted as being a form of torture. It was on a I don't know, what do you call, like a anti-farming type page that just popped up, and I thought, no, nobody's going to believe that. And then I opened up the comment section, and people were outraged. That what kind of led me to the point where it's like, people just don't know anything about it. So then that kind of gave me the push to do it. I'd had the idea and I thought, well, yeah, there's definitely somebody needs to tell the story, or other people will if they don't. You know, they're going to tell a false story. So that's kind of what motivated me to start it.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like those videos, we have a lot of people who aren't familiar with farming or agriculture. So they're viewing it as like the cow's in the chute and it could be painful and it
Yeah.
looks a little awkward. But as you know, the cow is actually enjoying it and getting some sort of comfort out of it at the end. Once you started telling these stories, how did that kind of snowball? I mean, you're in 6, 7 figure views now on all your videos, TikTok,
Mhm.
Instagram, YouTube. Um, what did you kind of first start out with? Just how often were you posting?
Well, early on, it was whenever I could get a video made, which it would take me weeks when I first started, because I literally, up till about 6 months prior to me starting that, had a flip phone. I didn't even have, I was completely awful with technology. So I knew I would have to teach myself how to do that. So I picked the easiest software to do it, but it would still take me forever to edit those. And my first videos were terrible as far as what they look like, the editing and stuff. So I had to learn a lot of that, but yeah, when I first started, it wasn't. I was just trying to learn how to do it, so I didn't really know what I was doing at all. And so over time, you start to learn and pick things up, and that's kind of how it progressed over time. It took a while, though, relatively. I mean,
I bet. I mean, I guess it's more of a repetition thing the more often you edit. And
yeah.
so, circling back to kind of the hoof care part, when you're filming these videos, what kinds of issues are you seeing normally?
As far as hoof issues,
Yes.
yeah, you see the main ones that you're going to see on dairies are digital dermatitis, white line issues, ulcers, foot rot, things like that. Those are your typical lesions you're going to see. When it comes to like making the videos, I kind of worked it around the things that over time that I learned that the viewers wanted to watch me work on. So you see a lot of white line issues. That's not necessarily the most thing that I see the most, but that's one that the viewers tend to gravitate toward, to enjoy watching, I guess I would say.
So, are you a one man show, or do you have people fetching cows for you, or how does that work?
Well, generally on the farm, the farmers or the workers will sort the cows out for me. So I'll have a group of cows to trim, and then throughout the day they'll bring me more as I need them. But start off with about 10 in a group, and then I set up my chute, my staging lane, and get the cows in from that group. Then I'm all by myself. Yeah. In the summer months, I have my son help me, but in
Aw.
for the most part, it's just me. Yeah.
So, you've got the cow and you're ready to film. And I was watching a few of your videos, and it's like the content is so steady and you're not like moving it at all. It's not all over the place.
Hmm.
How do you get such good quality while you're trimming?
Yeah, the tricky part with that is I have what happens is a lot of times I'm not filming everything, so I'm just trying. If I come across a situation that I think is going to be interesting, then I'll set the camera up. But all I use is my cell phone. That's it. No special camera, nothing, just a
Wow.
cell phone. And then I built a magnetic mount that would hold really firmly onto my chute, so that I can position the phone and let it sit there while I work, and I don't have to touch it. Then that's kind of the whole thing is I got to use both of my hands when I'm trimming. So I need a place where I can keep it secure and get a good, view of what I'm doing as well. So, but yeah, I don't, nothing special, just my cell phone. That's it.
That's
Yeah.
insane. Do you ever have people when you're at the job like kind of come up to you?
On farms,
Yeah.
um, well, not so much anything with filming. They all, it's kind of old hat for them now after 6 years, so they don't really pay attention to it. They might come over and crack jokes or something just to give me a hard time, but I don't really have any issues with the filming part of it. If as far as the viewers and the comments section, that over time too is kind of taking care of itself. I try to make sure that whenever I edit a video or I'm making a video, try to look and see what a viewer may find questionable or have a question about. So I try to address that and as I voice the video over. That's the other thing too. When I film them, when I'm filming the trims, I don't do any talking at all when I'm doing that. I focus on the trimming itself, and then I'll take that footage back and edit it, and then add the voiceover in afterwards. So that's I try to, when I edit them, try to foresee where the questions can be, and then if there's over time, like I said, over time, the questions that used to be common, a lot of people now know the answers to, and they'll respond for me. And so the comment sections kind of take care of themselves. You don't get a lot of crazy comments anymore in there. But
Wow, that's surprising. I'm sure, and like you
yeah,
said in the beginning, it was like people think of torture and things like
yeah,
that. But once I think as they start watching your videos, they obviously realize that it's helping them.
yeah.
Um, wow, I thought
That
that
was the
would be.
scariest part for me. That when I first started making them, I thought, is this all? Am I gonna end up just spending all my time, trying to explain things in the comments section? So that's why my videos, that's why I built them the way they are, with as much explanation for everything in them as I can, to try to head that, those questions off. But
Huh. Well, as a dairy producer and as a hoof trimmer, you've kind of seen both sides of the spectrum here.
mhm.
As a hoof trimmer, what do you wish that dairy producers would understand more about hoof health?
A lot of producers, I think, kind of look at hoof health as, or hoof trimming itself as hoof health, right? Like the hoof trimmer comes so I don't have hoof problems. But it's really, I guess, the biggest misconception is it's really the management on the farm that dictates all of that. I'm just a small piece of the hoof health, or the of the recipe, or whatever you want to say. But it's, the cow comfort is the biggest thing, making sure cows are laying down. That in itself will prevent a lot of hoof problems. It's just the fact that if they have comfortable stalls and they lay down as much as possible, you're going to head off a lot of the pressure related problems, which is what we see the most of. Ulcers and white line issues are pressure related problems from being on concrete. So if those cows lay down, we can alleviate a lot of that there. So I guess that I would say that it's the whole outlook approach as far as combating hoof problems in general.
Yeah, I guess some may think of it as like hoof trimming is kind of as a band-aid, but there's so many
Yeah,
factors that play into hoof health. And I have noticed in my time here at Hoards that many are paying a lot more attention to all these factors instead of just trimming. It's about comfort and all the things
yeah.
that you had said. I'm assuming that 20 years ago, hoof trimming looked a lot different than what it looks like now. Can you kind of describe how it has evolved over the 20 years?
Sure. Yeah, when I first started, it was like you said, a band-aid situation. Like you call the hoof trimmer when you have a bunch of cows that have sore feet. So, and now the mentality is let's make sure that the cows don't have sore feet, and I can still help with that by maintaining the hoofs, keeping them the right angles and the right lengths and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the biggest difference. Back then, I had to fix, and a lot of problems were much more advanced back then before I would get to see them, because if the first lame cow, the farmer would be like, well, I'll wait until I have a couple of them to make it worth his time. That type of situation. Now you know, they're much more proactive, where we're on a maintenance schedule. Lame cows are addressed as soon as possible, just to prevent all of those things. So yeah, that's been the progression. That's the feet are much better now than they were 20 years ago.
Over the years, you've probably dealt with a lot of misconceptions or myths from either farmers or non dairy producers. What's the biggest myth that you've ever heard?
Um, I don't really know if they're necessarily myth, but just I think as we progress through research and stuff, we learn where we were wrong in the past, and it's trying to correct those issues. I'm not sure they were myths; it's just the understandings of the way things were. So now it's a matter of, as we build on this knowledge over time, being able to improve on everything. So I don't know if there's necessarily a single myth, but more so along those lines.
Yeah, definitely. And as we've built and improved over time, that's, I'm sure, has given you a good base to make your videos on and educate people. How do you keep your content like authentic? I know people on the comments section of your videos have really appreciated you like just filming the content and then doing the voiceover and explaining. Is there anything else that you do that kind of just makes it pretty raw and real?
I think the biggest thing is just, yeah, like you said, not trying to make it dramatic. Just go about the business of trimming, and what I've found is that the viewers really want to see. That's what they kind of want to watch that anyway. So if I can just give them information as I'm doing that job, that's kind of what they're looking for, and so that's kind of what I focus on. As far as trying to keep it authentic is just trying to not over dramatize things when I'm working on them. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to do that in thumbnails and stuff to get people to click, make them sound a little bit. But in general, I try to keep it so that what they're seeing is literally, if you were to come to the farm and watch, that's what you would see. It's, without just with the dead time taken out of the film. So.
The sponsor of today's Hoard's Dairyman podcast is Specialty Sales. Hoofstrong takes the work out of hoof care. Their automated foot bath systems save labor, reduce hassle, and deliver consistent hoof care. Backed by unrivaled service and support, Hoofstrong delivers efficiency you can count on. Learn more at hoofstrong.com. How long does it take you you're posting like 10 to 15 minute videos. How long does it take you to edit those?
Yeah, those will take hours. When I used to do 5 to 6 minute video. I do one trim, and then I would just make the video out of that. And over time, as I've figured out different techniques and things, that just makes I'm faster at editing, but now I'm adding more features into it, so it takes longer to do all those things. So I would say on a normal video, a 15-minute video will take me. Well, the first step I do is take out all the dead time. That'll take about maybe an hour and a half. And then then I'll add a voice, do the voice work over the top of that. And then I'll go back and kind of re-edit the video. I'll find spots in it that are still what I feel like are slow, kind of boring spots, and I'll re-edit that and then watch it again. So it'll probably, in a 15-minute video, it'll probably take 6-7 hours of time to do that. Yeah. The actual filming, of course, is only 10 minutes of film, really, as I'm working on them. But yeah.
And you're doing all that by yourself as you have your job.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's the tricky part, is trying to figure out how to do all that. So if you watch the TikTok videos, a lot of people will comment about how they watch them at night and before they go to bed. Well, the way that started is because of my schedule the way it is. I would work, and I kind of break up my content stuff and then do it in the evenings or in the mornings. So at TikTok, when I started it, I really only had time right before I went to bed to post those videos. And that's kind of how I started it. So I would make the video, post it on TikTok, and then I would go to bed too, read the comments in the morning. And that's how, it started to pop up on their feeds, a lot of people's feeds at bedtime. So yeah, that's how I kind of work through I'm a trimmer first and content person second. But so yeah, that's how it works kind of. Yeah. When I have time, I build them.
Wow, that's insane. I mean, I guess you couldn't be content if you didn't have the trimming footage, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But wow. And you had talked about before, which I'm like very surprised at, is the comments and how they've kind of died down. Initially, were they like pretty in your face and bad, or just kind of, a couple here and there type instances?
Yeah. At first, there was a lot of not even questions, but more comments like, "Oh, that's abuse," or "That's neglect," or all those common things. Just because you would see these things and think, "How can you not notice that or see that?" and things like that. So over time, though, as we've built the videos and as they've seen them, people start to understand that, and if you own animals, you've seen this, where a cow can one day be perfectly fine and the next day can hardly limp or can hardly walk on that foot and she's limping. That literally does happen overnight. So, but people don't understand that. So they jump to conclusions. And that's why I try to be really specific when I'm in a situation, to explain how they progress, why they progress the way they do, why it happens so fast, and how it can be missed, just not notice it happening, because cows they like to hide things. So,
Yes.
and that's how, so yeah, like I said, the comments early on were much more aggressive, but I always tried to approach them as if they were genuine questions, not snarky type questions, which I could tell by the tone of them that they were, and then just explain them. And then I kind of, other people may have had the same thoughts, but then if you explain it in a calm fashion with straight facts, it's hard to not listen to someone that does that for a living and has for 20 years. You know what I mean? It's like it's easier to believe that person than some random person on the internet who's just spouting. So that's kind of the route that I took with it.
Wow, and I'm sure people really appreciate you being genuine because you're telling the whole story, and there's no fluff. And these people, I mean, they just go nuts over your
Yeah.
videos. And when I was scrolling through kind of your content, a lot of the ones that I saw that got the most traction are like if there's like an ulcer and like pus is coming out or stuff like that. People go nuts for that stuff.
Yeah, I don't get
Um
it. Yeah,
it's
it's
kind
crazy.
it's kind of gross but also kind of satisfying at
Yeah.
the same time. Is there any other videos, I guess, that really get the clicks?
Yeah, they like those. They like videos with a lot of knife work, where you're doing a lot of work with a knife, or if you have hooves that have rocks in them. Those seem to be the favorite of the kids. Kids like the rock videos. Every kid that I talk to that likes the videos will always say, "I like the rock ones are my favorite ones." So, or if you find a nail or something strange in a hoof, those ones they like those too. But for whatever reason, yeah, that's why my videos they tend to look very similar. A lot of the different, I'm working on a lot of white line issues. It's because I figured out over time that those are the ones that they kind of like to watch. So that's the ones I make.
I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I mean, some people, you said watch them at night, and that just kind of happened by happenstance of your posting. But my coworker, he said it's kind of therapeutic for him to
Mm-hmm.
watch these videos. Do you know why that is?
I can't figure it out myself. Like when I first started making the videos, the hearing the grinder noise drove me nuts. I hated that. Frankly, listening to my own voice drove me nuts. I was really self conscious about my voice, and yeah, I thought all the things that I didn't like is what seemed to be what everybody else enjoyed. So I don't know. Yeah, I can't really figure it out, but yeah, I've gotten that comment a lot about it being therapeutic and satisfying to watch. So to each
Well,
their own. I'm glad.
yeah, I guess we are our own toughest critic. I mean, on the
Yeah,
podcast, I used to hate my voice, but now that I've done it for a while, it's kind of you get used to it. But
yeah.
yeah, you've got millions of views, and that's insane. I Were you expecting it to blow up this much?
No, 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 no. I can remember that when I first started making them, I had a video that had like 3,000 views on it, and I thought, to me, that was viral at the time. Like, that's what I told my wife and kids. I'm like, something's more people are watching this than I know. So this is not just my friends and people that I know watching the video. Somebody else is watching these. So yeah, no. When I first started, I thought if I could ever get to 100,000 subscribers, that would be like the pinnacle. I'd never even thought I would get there, but I kind of set that as a goal. But yeah, it's been way more than I could have ever imagined.
And I guess you've kind of already touched on this, but how do you see this shaping the perception of agriculture? I mean, you're educating as you're filming these videos.
Hmm.
That's kind of your goal, correct?
Yeah, that's the
Wow.
angle that I took, and I mean, I'm glad that I took that type of angle. I feel like that's the best, even though I think our job in the agricultural fields, because it's shrunk so much over the years, people aren't familiar with it anymore, and I think that's why it resonates with a lot of people. And I know we don't feel like we necessarily need to explain our jobs, like why we do what we do, but I think it's just that disconnect with the viewers that they have a lot of questions. So that's why I kind of took the angle of educating in them. You have to tell people, you have to explain it many times for them to really understand what's actually happening. So it kind of worked out kind of perfect as far as creating the content, because it is repetitious. So being able to explain it over and over again, I think, is really what helps get the message out.
Yeah, and I think for you, as you're content creating, a lot of influencers, I guess, if they're doing the same things over and over again, a lot of people stop watching your content, but that has actually come to your advantage. I feel like, I mean, you're posting the same angles,
Hmm.
just different cows, obviously, most of the time, but repetition is your thing.
Yeah, it that I know, and that's I can't figure that out either. I thought for sure people would get sick of it, and even when I try to, if I do try to spice it up for myself by putting in different camera angles and stuff, I almost always get people. I don't want to say complaining, but telling me to go back the way I was doing it before. So I'm like, okay, I'm just trying to, trying to add some variety here, but
I guess listen to your audience.
yeah.
Sounds like you're doing a good job. Um, I mean, we don't see too many hoof trimmers being content creators, and I think that's a great dynamic because there are people out there that didn't even know that cows get their hooves trimmed.
Yeah.
So, for other ag professionals, I mean, it doesn't have to be hoof trimming. What advice would you give to them if they're looking to get into content creating like you did?
Yeah, if you have the interest and the desire to do it, do it. It's scary at first because you're going to be self-conscious like I was, like you were. But if you're authentic and you're explaining what your job and what you do, and or how whatever angle you want to take, if it's something you're passionate about and can do it, I recommend doing it. It's You just have to understand that it's much more work than you envision it's going to be. There's a lot that goes into it to do it, but it's rewarding. I mean, I mean, if like I said earlier, well, like you said too, when I would go places and like if I went to the doctor and they asked what my profession was, and I'd say they'd be looking down and I'd say hoof trimmer, and they'd look at me like they misheard what I said, and then I say, I trim cows' hooves. And then they look, you can see the wheels return. They're thinking, and they're like, can you even make is that even a living? Can you make a living doing that? You know what I mean? So I knew
Yeah.
that it was just, people didn't even realize it was a thing. To me, it's just what I did. It was my job. So it wasn't strange to me, but just realizing how strange it was to everyone else, you know, just more reason to talk about it, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And well, now they know. I mean, percentage of your audience, do you think it's more like producers and farmers, or is it more like people who aren't even in agriculture?
Oh no, vastly more people that are
Wow.
cities and things like that. Yeah. Way, 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 way more. Yeah. Yeah, which is another thing that when I first started, I thought no one's going to watch this because, in my mind, like you said, people don't even know it's a job. So who's going to search for it? And farmers are too busy to be watching YouTube videos about hoof trimming. They can see it on their farms whenever they want to. They're not going to watch videos about it. So I thought, I don't know if this will ever get traction. But it was the whole idea that the majority of the people that would watch it have never even heard of it before. It just shows up and then they start watching it and get almost addicted to watching it. So
Yeah, for sure. And now you're here and probably doing your fifth or sixth or 10th or 20th podcast and probably
yeah.
multiple interviews. And I see you even got the merch, the Nate the Hoof Guy hat.
Yep.
What's next for you? I mean, are you just going to keep doing what you're doing or any big plans down the road?
Yeah, I don't really have any big plans of changing what I'm doing right now. I feel like you know, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and as long as it still works, I'll keep making videos. I enjoyed going to farms and trimming as it was anyway. So now it's just another step. I've kind of built a business around it. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. When I'm done, when people get sick of me, I'll probably be done making videos. So,
At this rate, that could be never. So,
well, yeah,
well, that being said, I'm just gonna ask you a couple rapid fire questions.
sure, shoot.
So I always like to ask people what's their favorite snack on the job.
So honestly, I don't eat anything when I work.
What?
Not, nope. I don't drink, or I don't eat anything all day. The only thing I drink, I'll drink, have some soda and water, and that's about it all day long. That's it. I don't
Oh
stop for
wow.
lunch. I just work, and then I eat when I'm done. So
Okay, well
oddly enough, but it's not a rapid fire.
that's a good answer though. That's our first nothing answer, so
Yeah.
it adds to the pile. What's the weirdest animal you've ever trimmed?
The only animal that I've trimmed outside of a cow was a goat. I mean, I just happened to see it. Yeah, there was a goat walking around. When I was trimming, he would always walk through the free stalls, and he was just a wanderer on the farm. So and I noticed he had a little corkscrew toe. So I'm like, well, do you want me to trim him? And the farmer's like, she said, you will? And I'm like, well, I never have, but I will. So she held him down, and I trimmed him. But that's the only other animal with a hoof I've trimmed.
Taking care of business, I guess.
Yes.
In that same vein, what is your dream animal to trim?
A giraffe, oddly enough. They have very
Gosh.
similar hooves to cows. Yeah, and I seen some videos of how they train them to put their feet up so that they can trim them. So I think that'd be interesting to do.
Wow.
They won't fit in my chute though.
Yeah, it might be a little small, a little tight.
Right.
I guess my last question, when I was telling the people in the office that we got Nate the Hoof guy, they were pretty elated, and some of them have been fans of yours for a long time. And oddly
Really?
enough, one of them wasn't really involved in the ag industry either, so that contests to your what you said about it being non-ag people. But when you come home and you're like not editing and scrolling, what videos are you watching? Or are you not watching any at all?
A lot of the stuff that comes up on my feed are sports related stuff, fishing related stuff. That's kind of what my algorithm is. So yeah, that's what I watch a lot.
Yeah, that was my question. I wonder if you ever get hoof trimmed out.
Oh yeah, I rarely see other hoof trimming videos pop up on my feed. So yeah, they know that I don't watch them very often.
Oh, well, this is Nate the Hoof guy, guys, and we're so happy that he joined us today. It was a great conversation, and you can follow him on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Am I missing anything else, Nate?
YouTube, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Yeah, all those.
Yep, all the platforms under Nate the Hoof guy.
Yep.
And just continue watching his videos, because if you're struggling going to bed at night, they could be very therapeutic for you. So thanks, Nate.
Here. Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
The sponsor of today's Hoard's Dairyman podcast is Specialty Sales. Hoofstrong takes the work out of hoof care. Their automated foot bath systems save labor, reduce hassle, and deliver consistent hoof care. Backed by unrivaled service and support, Hoofstrong delivers efficiency you can count on. Learn more at hoofstrong.com.
Thank you for listening to the Hoard's Dairyman podcast. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. And don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. See you next time.